With the SH Figuarts Super Saiyan 4 Goku being the figure that is the most talked about right now amongst the community, Kong Studios decides to put out their own version of the Super Saiyan 4 transformation, but this time with the user being Vegito. How well does this figure live up to its interpretation from Super Dragon Ball Heroes, and how well does it actually perform? Find out right now. What's going on, guys? This is Star Blast Studios coming here with a brand new figure review, and today, guys, we're going to be taking a look at the new Kong Studios Super Saiyan 4 Vegito. This is a very hyped figure from Kong Studios, and it is one that a lot of people have been heavily anticipating, with it obviously taking the form that is very popular amongst the Dragon Ball community, which is part of the reason why the new Super Saiyan 4 Goku is so incredibly popular right now. Looking at the actual box art, we have some beautiful art right there, which isn't actually the figure. It's just a really nice art that goes all along the box. It goes around the box right over here, but otherwise, it is pretty much a plain box, so we don't really have too much to actually go ahead and look at. But one thing I do want to go ahead and point some focus onto is the actual way that they put the accessories into the plastic casing underneath the box. So this is essentially what you're looking at with how Kong Studios have been doing their figures lately. I don't exactly know why they're going amongst this route, but it's probably because they want to lessen the amount of cost that it actually takes to make the packaging and whatnot for their figures. But regardless, we get the accessories. We're not even here for the packages to begin with. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into this figure. Alright, guys, taking a closer look at this Vegito, and my gosh, I am absolutely in love with this thing. This is absolutely, probably, you know what, this is probably the best figure that we've ever gotten from Kong Studios themselves. This figure absolutely blows away any other release we've gotten before from Vegitos. This is just like the sculpting for Super Saiyan 4. It's probably just because I really like the Super Saiyan 4 transformation, but the sculpting all around on this figure is absolutely beautiful. What we initially saw with the original mold for the Super Saiyan Blue Vegito figure from SH Figuarts is being used right over here, which is something that Kong Studios actually practiced on a little bit with their recently released Kong Studios Vegito, which is more accurate to how he looked when this is the version of Vegito that went Super Saiyan Blue in Dragon Ball Heroes. And yeah, they used the exact same mold, which really did help out a lot. And it is accurate to how it looks in Super Dragon Ball Heroes. Man, just look at how well that hair goes around. It does have that sort of Super Saiyan 4 Vegito like hair thing as well, which is accurate to the design of Vegito, but it goes around and it just, I think it works really well. If you actually look at the somewhere in the back of the hair, let me go ahead and fix the light over here so you can kind of see it a little bit better. There we go. Now you can kind of see in the back over there, you can see a little bit of a peg that you can go ahead and move this figure in, which means that the back of this thing is actually articulated. It's just a little bit difficult to get to. And one of the new mechanics that they actually introduced is pretty much the double ball peg sock joint feature, which is very similar to what Figuarts initially did with their SH Figuarts Broly, the very first version of the Super Saiyan Broly. I'm seeing some similarities here, and this is really cool because, you know, with them probably not having the exact same mechanics as Figuarts did with the Super Saiyan 4 Goku, this is another interesting way that they can add in a little bit more maneuverability to the hair in an attempt to actually make it fluctuate a little bit more and get out of the way when you're trying to get it into certain poses, which, honestly, this combined with the joint in the back does actually help out a lot, which, with the actual thing, it doesn't quite work as well as, I think, as the Figuarts Super Saiyan 4 Goku, but for this being the other option that they did, I'm at least very happy that they did go ahead and try to bring in some new mechanics, and it does work in certain ways, but in other ways, I don't feel like it quite does the job for me. You know, it's just one of those things that it's like, it's good, it's bad, and it's like, I'd honestly do prefer this joint that is in there above a standard SH Figuarts joint, which, yeah, props to 5K Toys, or sorry, props to Kong Studios for making that mechanic in there so well. Which, speaking of 5K Toys, guys, go ahead and pick this figure up from 5K Toys because they sent this figure out to me to go ahead and review, and this thing is just absolutely awesome. I'm really happy with it, and you know, I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible when it comes to this type of figure, but there is some quality control issues that we do gotta go ahead and look into, which I'm just telling you right now to remind myself, because you know, there's a lot that this figure has when it comes to the detail that there is to love. Just look at how well that they painted the pecs right there with the shading right there. And looking at the back, I really like that they made this cloak piece right over here out of rubber, making it so it's not going to hinder any articulation at all when you're moving around the legs. Really like that part about this figure. Looking at the actual pants aren't really shaded too much, but, you know, not really necessary, I guess, when it comes to Vegito, because, you know, Figuarts doesn't even shade for nowadays. Now, when it comes to the feet, really a nice way that they did the feet as well. Really no complaints around right there. Pretty basic, but yeah, pretty darn good figure, I would say, overall, when it comes to the detail that they did on this thing. Now, if you've been following 5K Toys' Instagram, you know that Kong Studios has been working on this figure for just about a year now, and that's definitely evident when you compare this to the mold of the Super Saiyan 4 Goku, as they pretty much got the look of Super Saiyan 4 right on point, and, you know, I like that fact that it has a different mold from this one. And this, like, obviously they couldn't even replicate this because the figure wasn't even out at the time, but they were working on this before we even had the promo images for this Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and you know, it really goes to show how well that they actually captured it just with all of the talent that they had in their studio on their own. Just the way that they did the fur is a little bit more rough. It does have a bit of a tougher plastic than the way that Super Saiyan 4 Goku's is. You know, with the way that it runs fur, and in some points you'll actually find out that it does actually hinder the articulation in a little bit in some areas with the type of plastic that they used. But in other areas, it seems to actually have some benefits to it as well. Which, I guess as we're talking about that, we might as well get into the articulation right now with this figure before getting into the accessories and the size, I guess size comparison. Okay, so as we talked about before with the actual head, because of the fact that it is on a double bulb, well, do we call this a double bulb? No, we'll just call this like a good, like, double hinge joint. You know, that's what it is, a double hinge joint. So he can go, the head actually comes out of the box a little bit higher, so he does have that long neck syndrome. You just need to know how to properly, you know, place it down on the figure, but because of it, the figure can look, let's see here, up this high. I mean, that's pretty decent, but, like, you know, not quite looking as good when you actually are making the figure look as, you know, as high as it can. But looking down, I guess you can definitely get away with that, for sure. Yeah, not too bad when it comes to looking down. Side-to-side movement as well. You know, not as much as Super Saiyan 4 Goku, but, you know, considering, again, this is their own, like, mold and everything like that, it's really not that bad for a third-party company at all, for all of the articulation that you get in there. And then pretty good motion right over there on the bottom of the neck as well. Now, when it comes to the shoulders, this one particularly right here, I'm having a slight amount of issues with. So when it comes to bringing the arm up on this specific joint, it's very tight for me for whatever reason. And so you kind of have to, like, hinge it up right over there by holding down the butterfly joint a little bit in order to get the arm all the way up. I'm not quite having as many problems with this arm as I am with this one, but, like, it is still fairly tight, and you still kind of have to do that because the butterfly joint is a lot more, you know, free-forming, if you know what I mean. But yeah, the butterfly joint, speaking of the butterfly joint, he can go out pretty darn far with the butterfly joint. So I guess, like, with both of the arms, he doesn't actually come with the cross arms accessory piece, so maybe with what we got, we can actually get Vegito doing the crossed arms without that. And maybe we'll go ahead and see. Yeah, you know what, with a bit of finagling, you can definitely get Vegito doing crossed arms. Just got to change out the hands as well, which it does have a few decent pairs of relaxed hands, which can definitely get the look going if you're very creative with how you do the poses. You do have, obviously you got, like, a full range of motion right over there. You got a bicep swivel right there, double jointed arms, and then at the wrist you do have your standard wrist peg, which does, you know, feel a little bit tight and then a little bit loose in some areas. I mean, it is a third-party company feel, like the Kong Studios is kind of known for. On this hand, though, it is a little bit tighter than I wish it was, but it's not too crazy tight at all. Now, when it comes to the torso, this is going to be interesting. You do get these pretty much around the same amount of articulation right there as you got with the new Super Saiyan 4 Goku that just released. And then he can crunch this far forward. You can see a little bit of gapping in there, which is unfortunate. But I mean, hey, it's not the end of the world at all. And then he can crunch back about that much. It's not the greatest, but I mean, it's not that bad. You can get a little bit of waist swivel right there, which, no, actually, it doesn't look like we're getting very much waist swivel right there, unfortunately, because I know exactly what's going on. It's the exact same issue that took place with the Saiyan Rays on Earth Goku, where you didn't actually get very much waist swivel out of there, and it's just because of how they molded the top legging parts of the plastic around the actual, which overlaps the front part of the torso piece that connects right here on the top, which hinders the articulation, making him not get a lot of waist swivel out of there, unfortunately. And when it comes to the legs, I really do like the legs. You can get them kicking forward this far. The legs feel really, like, move really, really nicely. You can get the legs going back really far as well. You do get a thigh swivel right in there, and moves pretty well on the other end. Now let's see if you can get them going ahead and doing the splits. It's not quite the perfect splits. I don't know why this bit of plastic over here is much more white. I don't know what it is with the plastic that they're using. But not quite the splits, but I mean, a pretty decent range in, like, regardless of that. You do get double jointed knees right there, which moves pretty well on that knee. Pretty decently well on that knee. That's the way I like the joints to actually move around. That feels smooth. And then when it comes to the feet, it does unfortunately have the similar Vegito feet, or Vegeta feet. Actually, no, these feel a little bit better. So the feet do go up this far forward, goes this far down. It does rotate right over there, and then you do get a little bit of ankle pivot. Not the most amount of ankle pivot, well, not any ankle pivot at all if the foot comes off. And then a pretty tight toe hinge, which you're not going to be using the toe hinge very much on these figures anyways. This one right here is a lot easier to go ahead and move around. But yeah, oh, and I almost forgot about the tail. The tail is on a very similar hinge to the one that's on the Super Saiyan 4 Goku, but it's a little bit more difficult to actually go ahead and access because of the fact that there's the cloak around, and with the way that the plastic on the tail actually goes in, it's kind of hard to see like what exactly is being moved on there. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. Just the angles does kind of get in the way of you trying to, like, you know, move it around, and so at some angles it actually feels like it's gonna break when you're moving it. But when you have it like this, it feels like a lot more freeform, if you ask me. But yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to the articulation. Now, when it comes to the facial expressions, this Vegito does obviously come with a stern face. He also comes with a teeth-gritted face. And then, of course, a screaming face. And then, of course, the classic smiling look into this side face for Vegito, where he came out and he was like, Yosha! But this time with the, with him not having the mouth open. Now, there is a couple of issues that I do want to say about the faces, is that all of the faces do have the same sort of glossy tone of it, which is a very similar thing to the Super Saiyan 4 Goku, but it's not like a crazy quality like thing that you would really notice. It's just something that you notice really when you're looking at it up close under the specific review lighting that I have, and it's this is clearly painted in a matte, with a matte finish with what we got right over here on the pecs. This is not finished, like done with that exact same matte finish, which I really wish it was. And another thing I want to point like caution towards is, actually, when you're changing out the faces, you do interchange the front bang, which if you have a Super Saiyan Blue Vegito figure, then you already know how this works. But basically, when I pulled off the hair, I noticed that the bit of plastic was actually sort of bending on in a certain way when it was plugged in, and it could be because of this little bit of like plastic debris chunk that's right over there on the tip of the peg, which could possibly lead to issues. It's just I noticed that the fact that it was bending, and so I do want to point some caution to you. It does look like it is getting pretty rough, like there's possibly some plastic weakening right over there in the center of that. So just with your copy of the Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, just be very careful when handling the front part of this hairpiece. And before getting into the hands, one QC issue that I did actually notice upon filming is that this specific arm is actually really tight. I don't know why I didn't notice this before, but it is reminding me of the similar issue that we had with the Kong Studios Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta, where some people had complained about issues with the arm being very tight, and where when you actually move this around, it can possibly cause some splitting to take place right in between the parts of the plastic, which you can see exactly where the two halves of the chest and back sort of come together in order to make this. So again, another thing you got to be very cautious of is just like you try to be moving this thing forward, and it can pull the butterfly joint in a certain way that it's really not meant to be moved. So again, another thing that I have to point caution towards, because this is a third-party company figure, and you do got to be very careful because we don't want these things to break. But actually getting into the hands, we do, of course, the figure does come with a pair of fists, and just one time on camera, I'm going to go ahead and try to change out the hands, which it's a little bit difficult, but not quite as difficult as the Super Saiyan 4 Goku. We're going to go ahead and get a pair of, if I can get this on, not too difficult, a pair of relaxed hands that goes with this Vegito figure, which is original to Kong Studios. I really do like these pairs of relaxed hands. It does suit the figure very well, especially in some of the poses I've seen people do with it, where he's adjusting his gloves and looking off, and that just looks really cool. You know what? If you know what promo image I'm talking about on 5K Toys' website, which you'll see right over here on the screen. We also have the figure falling over. We do get a pair of open palm blast hands right over here as well. Let me go ahead and put the figure back up. We got to make sure this man is displayed. We do get a pair of final Kamehameha hands, or Kamehameha hands. He can have him using whatever the hell technique you want him to be using with this thing. And you also get the same grabbing hand, which is for the Super Saiyan Blue Vegito that this figure has taken parts from. This is meant for holding down Zamasu, but you can have him holding down whoever the heck you want. We also get one for the right hand. We get a come at me type of hand, and then we also get a karate chop type of hand, which is actually for a couple of the accessories, which I'll get into in a little bit. We do get one instant transmission hand, which all the hands, they work pretty well. And then we do also get this one hand, which has the peg for Vegito's final Kamehameha effect piece, which does not come with this figure, unfortunately, but you can take the Super Saiyan Blue Vegito final Kamehameha effect piece from that figure, or the one that Demonical Fit has actually been teasing on their Instagram for a little bit, and plop it and use it right over here using the peg system right here. And then for the other accessories that we get that aren't the hands, we do get the sort of beam sword hands, where you can go ahead and take this hand and slot that right in there. Unfortunately, it does not come included with another karate chop hand, which I really wish it did. That way you can have this man sort of dual blading different energy swords. I think that would just be really cool. But regardless, it is a pretty cool option that we sort of have right now. Am I putting this in right? No, okay, yeah, it was supposed to go in like that. So yeah, pretty darn cool accessories, I'd say, overall for this Vegito figure. I am really liking the amount of accessories that we have, and the playability factor that we have with this thing too. This figure is really impressing me. And now for some size comparisons, starting from left to right. Here we have the SH Figuarts Merge Zamasu, the Capsule Corp Goku, the Kong Studios Dragon Ball Heroes version Super Saiyan Blue Vegito, and the Kong Studios Resurrection F version Goku Black Super Saiyan. And one thing I'm noticing about all the size comparisons is that this Vegito is actually a lot taller than all of the other counterparts that he has, but here he is, we're standing right next to the SH Figuarts Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Alright guys, so that's been my review of the new Kong Studios Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, and if you're curious as to what hand I'm using for him to use the beam sword right over here, I am using the come and get me type of hand. It's not handed put in all the way, but the pose does actually go ahead and work. And so, for my final thoughts on this figure, if you guys have been avoiding getting third-party company figures because you're too worried about getting any major QC issues or something like that, well, honestly, from my point of view, you're running the exact same risk of running any detrimental QC issues when it comes to the third-party company figures as you are whenever you collect any of the new SH Figuarts figures in the current stage of the SH Figuarts figures that we're in right now. Because of what's going on with Vietnam, how we've been having a lot of the crazy stuff when it came to the Bardock and when it came to the Jace and a lot of the members of the Ginyu Force and even Raditz and a bunch of the figures that we've been getting from Figuarts lately has been having QC issues. So the way I see it, any third-party company figure that you're avoiding getting, it has the exact same risks that you're getting with Figuarts nowadays. So if you're trying to get a new Super Saiyan 4 if you're trying to get a new Super Saiyan 4 Vegito figure, you are actually going to have options because there is Demonical Fit that is apparently releasing theirs to go ahead and go up against the Kong Studios one. But for the most part, I really do feel like this version of Vegito does the job very, very well. For the most part, it does have the QC issues, but it does do the job. I think that this definitely does the part. It looks exactly like how you would want Super Saiyan 4 Vegito to look like. It captures Super Saiyan 4 Vegito very well from Heroes, and I gotta commend 5K Toys for how well they sculpted the figure and how excellent that they did with everything else. Because QC issues aside, with the articulation having problems, the engineering that they did throughout this entire thing, it was done very, very well. And definitely a round of applause to 5K Toys, to Kong Studios for that. Anyways, guys, that's been my thoughts on this figure. What do you guys think about this figure? Go ahead and leave your thoughts down in the comment section down below. I will see you guys in the comment section. Until then.